you can always ask the trainee if he has some problems. Usually people forget what is the C configuration and what is the reversed C configuration, / they don't watch the tail of a suture. That makes that we cannot make the final hinges. And this kind of breaking the procedures avoid that they get mixed up and have a sliding knot at the end because of the error in following the steps of the procedure. If it's a cholecystectomy with appendicectomy, you break it also in number of steps, and that we can show on the VR simulator later. So, for the technique of suturing, breaking the procedure in steps is actually the base of remembering better, and if you have problems and you cannot make a hinge, you have to reflect on why I cannot make the hinge. And this will very often be because one forgets that the suture has to show up out of a right-handed needle holder, because otherwise all the time you can bump against the other needle holder. These are the remarks that are related to the process of giving instruction. So you have to remember these little details, how create the C-loop, how create. Also, if you see in the beginning of this video that one does not change the instruments, very often you'll see that people grasp the needle with this needle holder. When you need additional movement to take over the needle of this part of suture with the other needle, it's done within one move. Yeah? One movement and you're ready already to proceed with the hinges, in place of taking over from one instrument to another. So it is ergonomy of the movements that simplify the task. Okay? Okay. So,
just this is for the non-surgical people. I will just have a look at it online. See, this is to laparoscopy hand, not normal. I will not have the needle. Here is the needle is there. Needle is in, because these are how we are inserting the needle. What suture metal, because it's observable, non-observable. Which suture metal we use, that will decide. I kept the needle inside. Now this is the right hand. Suppose the needle is like this, just I can go, just I push it and then the needle will come into the, I will not take it, touch it. Suppose the needle will be like this, then what will do? Just I will hold the thread, then I will hold it. Right. After that, this is the perpendicular I am inserting. I am going there, then I am taking. This left hand instrument will support it only. It will not pull the needle. Left hand instrument will support. Now I pull the needle, and you see this is the curvature I have to make. Suppose I pull like this, there will be T swing. Just I make a curvature. Now I brought it. Now just have a look. I am making a C here. There is a C formation here. Now my left hand instrument will be steady. Right hand instrument has to move like this. I hold again the tip of the tail. I am sliding here. So this is one loop. Next, I am making another loop. That is the reverse C loop. Now you see the right hand is steady now. Left hand is just giving one loop here. So, this is the subject not ending. It looks easy, but whoever the non-surgery people, you try it here first. same thing has to be reflected in the laparoscopy. So for all our juniors who are the PGs we are telling, first come here, imagine hold the laparoscopic grasper or the needle holder like this. Just once they will put it, after that you see again I am making another loop, C loop. When I am making a C loop, my left hand is fixed. I will not move this left hand, my left hand is fixed.
Because we don't have opportunity to do something on this because the group is too big. And
again, see, there is a technique there. Just I make it like this, so that it automatically another reverse C loop has gone. And when I do reverse C loop, my right hand is fixed. You see now. Again C loop.
Okay.
When there is a C loop, left hand will be
this video and the other video and get
again,
the protocols
just
of
I am holding it, just I am changing like this.
Because
automatically there is a reverse C loop.
Handling of the needle and for suturing technique.
Same thing. What is reflecting there, same is reflecting here. So non-surgical people try it here first, then come to the laparoscopy so that it will be easy. And regarding the
because
not insertion, it is difficult. Because here what happened, I am holding a perception, I am holding the needle, but there instrument is holding the needle, that perception should not come. Instrument is holding the needle, that joint receptor will have a perception, like a latch. So let us try it here. Surgery people, they are mostly well versed, they can start there.
I don't know what
Can we
afternoon, is it possible to connect
in between I am making everything ready.
Yeah. So after lunch we'll connect and go through the construction of the pieces of the procedure that can be used as the construction element, and also show them how to instruct someone how the first session should be done on the Sunday. No, they don't need to do it. I'll ask Samir to do the process and I'll just instruct him. So it's not the question of doing it, it's the question of showing how the instruction has to be given if you use any kind of simulation. We have a little bit to adjust the program to the size of a group, and in a homogeneous group being not surgical or gynecological, whatever, where this suturing skills is not relevant for you. You have seen the video how it should be done. In afternoon we'll put some videos of trainees and we'll give you the assessment protocol that is an example of assessment protocols for different procedures so that you can exercise use of the assessment protocol. So now briefly I'll go through the issue of assessing the process, because again, for assessing whatever performance there are different tools developed, different protocols developed, and we can briefly consider which kind of protocol is worth assessing. What we... Okay, so have a chat with him.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Sir, here the program is like a train the trainers, but sir, let me tell the truth. Here there are two group of people. One group are the surgery and allied like gynae. Another group is non-surgical. Non-surgical means starting from community medicine, some of the nursing staff, they are the teaching faculty of the nursing, physiology, anatomy. So the program is how
you capture them.
Yes, sir.
How did you capture them?
Sir, not me. Akriti captured them. Sir, all that you can see them in the camera. In the front row, the madam is from anatomy. Sarojini madam, you know, madam is from gynae.
Good morning, madam.
So the program is how they should train. Means how they will instruct the students, how they should instruct the different participants during the teaching program. That is the program. So we require some feedback from you for another 15 minutes.
You have the best man for the job standing on the stage, Professor Jack.
Sir, he's there. Sir, he's
Yeah, I hide, you know, you have to look at the nice girls, not on the old men. So, okay, I think that, that what we were talking all the time about is more technical aspects of a training, of a feedback, of a way of providing feedback, of the standard ways of avoiding takeover by the mentor too early, and things that are strongly related to methodology of training people step by step. As it is more or less derivated grossly from in UK used programs, as probably you well know the LABCO program, the program for colorectal surgery, that actually developed a train-the-trainer program, which is very similar to the content that we are discussing, and also the colonoscopy programs that the train-the-trainer in colonoscopy, that is also a part of let's say, basics of teaching people step by step. We went very briefly through demonstrating that even a short procedure as suturing could be taught by breaking the procedure in steps and allowing the trainee in the future to reflect if something goes wrong on a certain component task of even such a simple procedure as suturing. I think that it is something that you use also in robotic suturing to condition people and to learn to tie the knot by using a same way of deconstructing the procedure. And certainly in your experience with robotic surgery, you deconstruct a lot of surgical procedures in component tasks so that your trainee can do a certain component task and not just start with whole procedure in the first stage. I hope that it is a bit, I expect that it is also a bit the way that you train the robotic surgeons.
Absolutely, Prof. So when I did training the trainers in 2006, and have been teaching since, what I found quite useful is to give a random topic. So my topic for presentation for the first thing was to explain the differences between pulao and biryani to a group of white people who have never cooked pulao and biryani. That was my chosen topic. And the practical task I had to demonstrate to a group of experienced senior surgeons, which is even trickier because some of them were my trainers, was to teach a Chinese rope trick. So that's where the whole concept of deconstruction came in. So I could do the Chinese rope trick with my hand, and then I had to go and teach a group of people step by step how to do that. So what I used was a straightforward technique. I wrote down individual components of the rope trick, and then first I had to show them without actually talking about the rope trick. Then I had to take them through what I was doing in the rope trick. Then they had to take me through the rope trick so I could do it physically. And then the fourth component was we going together, parallel, the trainer and the trainee, to do how the rope trick went. So that is how all the practical aspects started, and that is a very useful four-step technique for training the trainees in terms of all the practical experience, because I still use it on day-to-day basis for teaching all the trainees in the theatres at the minute. So what they get is they get a roadmap initially, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Your turn, Prof.
It's just the same philosophy that we try to explain because there was always a big misunderstanding why the hell he's talking or breaking the procedure of laparoscopic not dying in pieces, because we are not laparoscopic surgeons and we'll never do it. It's not the topic of suturing, it's a topic how you deconstruct something to make it clear how this process is done. We are also focusing a bit about this morning about use of the correct language that allows you to instruct people blindly to perform something in a training box, to put something on a pole or to put something in a basket, under the instruction of the colleague, of peer, that uses the language that you did agree upon with the trainee. So that allows you to do blindly the things. So I am sure that you use the same technique also to demonstrate that essence of communication between the trainer and the trainee, the mentor and the trainee, that you speak the same language, that the terms that are used are well agreed upon, as the agenda of a training has to be agreed upon, agenda of the training in procedural training, which part of the procedure is responsibility of a trainee, and so on and so on. So let us say what some educators call even a contract, a training of a task contract. I mean, we don't need a contract, we need to have a common clarity and agreement in what is going to be done and how it should be done. And I think that is the way that you use it also for your trainees.
Okay.
So we have a no-no board, which is a very interesting concept I picked up from one of the management trainers in Edinburgh. So what we do is, when I have a major hiatus hernia repair, or when I do a minimal invasive cephectomy or a pancreas, I agree with them that, look, pancreatic dissection is yours or reconstruction is yours. So the trainee is first comfortable with the whole situation because they know which part of the entire operation is theirs or which part of the training opportunity is theirs. So they need not worry that they are going to miss out on the normally anxieties which come out as verbal and non-verbal cues during the procedure. So you have trainee who is disinterested, you have trainee who is disengaged with the process. It is keeping them amused through the process, which is something I find quite interesting. And then what I have is a no-no board. Like you said, it is a language which is important, and through the entire training opportunity, if we can create, that is what we are all working towards still. We have not perfected it, nobody is perfect, and we are all working towards it. If we can use a series of sentences, careful communication, and actually mean it, because more than 65% of your communication is non-verbal. It's your body language, it's the tone of the voice, and it is whatever else you are doing. If you are fidgety and if you come across angry, trainees know that as well. So then there is always this no-no board which captures, there is somebody in theatre complex who captured your words. If you have used a negative sentence, if you turned around to trainee and said, no, that is not how I do, that goes on the board for you to reflect as a trainer. At the end of the day, we go to the no-no board, get our phones out, take a picture of all the sentences we have used, so we have time to reflect on that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent complex way, because if it's what we were also a little bit discussing this matter, that is very important how you communicate with the trainee to avoid this let us say to lose the opportunity to allow the trainee to reflect on their performance in place of just intervening and saying that it is not done incorrectly, this no-no concept. And if you look at the issue of how you are addressing is using this famous stop word to stop the moment in the procedure where corrections has to take place, and allow the trainee to reflect and to find out what is going on and how to improve it and how to proceed further on. So avoid taking over too early and things like that. So I think it's a very good idea that you use. It's very interesting. It comes from a management, you say.
Yeah, it comes from School of Management in University of Edinburgh. When we went to visit them, the management had two important concepts to add. One was a SMART. It is simple, measurable, achievable, reproducible training goals, SMART goals. So you give them, look, today I'm going to teach you lap suturing. I would like you to go and choose this material, use this for so-and-so. I want you to tie these knots, and at the end, this is what I want you to achieve. So that is a learning outcome. You have agreed with them, and obviously you as a trainer, you are required to promote that learning outcome. And like you said, it is easy for us to show them once, to take them through that once, and for them to talk us through it. But at some point, you need to let them go. You need to give them a rope long enough for them to hang, but not long enough for them to die off it.
Yeah.
Because they need to learn from their mistakes.
Absolutely. So this reflective way of training is actually the most, let us say, effective way of achieving the improvement. It's what I was repeating myself several times this morning, that you can repeat your instruction or repeat your demonstration, but it comes again through one ear and goes through another ear of a trainee out, and still it gets very easily forgotten, or they stick to their own problem and mistake if they did not recognize it themselves. So it's maybe investing more time, but on duration of time, you are gaining time because you don't need endlessly to repeat your demonstration of your recommendations. And I think
absolutely, I agree with you.
That's
I agree with you.
That's somehow seems to be, and again, the issue of stop seems, unless could be interpreted as stop, you're stupid. It's not meant you're stupid. Stop, it means take time to reflect and be comfortable. It's not a punishment, and this, I think, has to be a part of tuning the agendas in the beginning of a session, so that the trainee is not perceiving this word stop as being a negative comment. It's just giving hand.
So what I was demonstrating to Dr. Samir when I came to India recently was a bunch of training videos we made together. Trainees did those operations. None of them were my operations. I thought that was a very interesting concept. If you let the trainees sit with their own videos of whatever laparoscopic or open procedures they have done, and let them reflect on it, and spend 5 minutes to tell them what they did extremely well to reinforce their strengths. Because everyone needs a positive reinforcement and positive incentive to go back into theatre and do well, you see. Sarojini Madam, what's your thoughts on this?
Sir,
Yeah.
same thing we are doing it here also. Sir, third year residents or second year residents, we are giving some task to them. We are asking to do it, and they are doing. Initially on the table we are telling yes, good, 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 but after the end of the procedure again we are telling, see, this is the technical difficulty you are having, or this is the problem you faced, or this is, we should not do it. Yesterday I am telling one of my postgraduate, he was putting a trocar. He was putting a trocar, standing on the right side of the patient, and the monitor is back of him.
Very common mistake.
Yeah. So he was putting, I told, yes, nice, you are keeping nice. Then after putting the trocar, that trocar is almost like on the monitor. So I told you, see, this is the problem you did. You are thinking you kept a nice trocar, but as for the ergonomics, it is not correct. So as for the ergonomics...
So they can come to simulation lab, can't they? They can do the trocar with monitor behind them 50 times, and then they do trocar with monitor in front of them 50 times, and see which of them hurts them less.
Yeah. So we should have some positive attitude also during the training process.
Fine, I'll tell you a very good story on positive attitude. I had a BBC producer come to one of my theatres, right? I was doing a BMI 190 patient, and this producer is full stud, quite burly. And he was trying to tell me that to be a surgeon, it's not important to go to gym. This guy looks like a model, and he was constantly pestering me in the background saying, oh, do you need to go to gym? Do you need to do this? Do you need to do that? I was like, okay, fine. We invited them. Let's go with the flow. And then at some point he goes, for your operation, is this just mental, or do you need any physical effort? Do you need to learn anything physical? So I got a bit irritated. I said, sister, give us a couple of Olympus graspers, long laparoscopic graspers, 1.5 foot graspers, right? Bariatric. I put 1 kilo each in a glove. I asked him to put his hands out and hold it till I got scrubbed. It takes you 5 minutes to scrub, doesn't it? Yeah. At the end of 5 minutes, this very, very clever, very, very burly BBC reporter turns around to me and says, this takes a bit of toll on your back, doesn't it? I said, you bet. Continue holding it. I'm holding 30 kilos each on each hand, right? For 1.5 hours. I want you to continue holding it till I finish my operation. And he goes, it's okay, we'll learn this lesson some other day. So I think if you let people learn from their mistakes and create, like Prof. Jack was saying, create an environment where they have a chance to reflect on it. What majority of us in our, I don't know if you agree with this, Prof. What majority of us do in our anxiety to teach and want them to perfect it, we create an atmosphere where they don't think they can open their mouth, and they don't think they have a chance to reflect on whatever they have been doing. Is that a fair assumption?
It's absolutely. It's why we are moving now very, very intensely in the Netherlands in a direction of making critical resource management training almost obligatory. It's now obligatory for ICU personnel, nurses, and also surgical or other specialty registrars to participate in the sessions where the communication is standardized, the language is standardized, and the way of working in the high-risk environments becomes more organized, and on the other hand, the way of communicating, briefing and debriefing people becomes brings a lot of clarity in the processes. So that is the next stage that actually we are moving towards. It's why we have now in the Skills Lab in the complete ICU, we have physical OR, and we are trying to work also with improving the virtual environments to train within virtual environments where the communication with the group, the position of a leader, the position of the, let us say, participating personnel, the setting, the common mindset of the whole group become actually more or less accepted even by older generation of consultants that of course hate this soft bullshit, but evidently it improves the outcomes within ICU, and I'm sure that if we manage to create within the operating theaters the situation that it is not as now the operating theater is a theater that the actors don't know exactly the role. They are not used to speak up when the things go wrong, but this will slowly vanish.
So one best example is the recent case in Doncaster. One of the local general practitioner's wife, who happened to be an anesthetist, poor lady, had airway difficulty. There were 6 consultant anesthetists who, between them, had 120 years of experience as anesthetics, intubating, difficult patients and all. There was a crash trolley, there was the entire tracheostomy tray, everything available. People were so consumed by focused one aspect of getting the airway in, and they kept traumatizing the airway to the point of no return. In that 5 minutes, the theatre sister had tracheostomy trays ready, not a single soul, not one of those 6 anesthetists. If you go online and you read this report, because a husband happens to be a commercial pilot who had access to, just like how you carefully said, airline model, they have least risk and they have human factors factored in. Very importantly, we are doing some important research on human factors at the minute, factored in. And to his shock, what he realized is not a single soul thought of tracheostomy, which is one of the basic things for airway. Not a single soul thought of the video intubation, which was available to them. And they were not talking to each other. Each and every one of them got so busy, so engaged with the task, that they forgot that there is a patient here at the end of this tracheostomy tube, and it is time conscious. In 5 minutes, they have done all their damage.
Now
and it is so easy to do in time critical situations like that, if you are not a trainer who can train people.
It's why we are now trying to pull the program when we put 2 simulators, 2 surgical simulators, Lab Mentor, the Express, and a tablet. So we have a surgeon assistant and nurse that is working as instrumentation nurse. We have the patient mannequin on a table. We have a runner nurse. We have an anesthesiologist and anesthesiology assistant. And the patient, of course, is a full-blown patient mannequin that you can do actually from the regie room of the training RR. You can talk with the patient, so time out can be done. And then we can mimic the situations as cardiac arrest, for example, as major bleeding or other complication. And that means that we notice that even in this training situation, at the moment where one of the instructors of the CRM, of the critical resource management trainings, forgot that the defibrillator was on the top of anesthesia tower. Can you imagine? Even instructor, because in this mimicked emergency still was loss of, well, relative a lot of time searching for the defibrillator. Yeah? So it shows the importance of this. We did notice that some of the teams forgot to stop the gas infiltration of this laparoscopic case and to evacuate the CO2 out of the abdomen, and they went to the reanimation only by removing the instruments. You can imagine that these things are really need really to be trained ahead.
I know an anesthetist who has recently been shocked, who shocked himself as part of a cardiac resuscitation in the last year, and I know of a surgeon who set himself on fire by using alcoholic chlorhexidine. Of course, he set patient on fire, but he set himself on fire because he was standing with the bowl of alcoholic chlorhexidine and someone was testing diathermy machines and they set themselves on fire. And both the careers have ended.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean,
Sir, same thing happened here also. Almost 5-6 years back, we are doing a mastectomy. So one of the surgeons is my PG. He was assisting me. During the surgery, what happened? He noticed his gloves got torn up. So what happened? He asked the sister to give some spirit. So he made the spirit and he wear another gloves and with the spirit also. And cautery is going on. So suddenly, when I use the cautery, suddenly it is fired to him, the surgeon. Then we noticed that because of the spirit. Because at that time, we don't know his sister gave a spirit. So cautery was on and he was wearing the gloves. Suddenly he had a fire. And from that day, I will tell all my PG, this is the experience. Be careful regarding the use of spirit when we people are using the cautery in the operation theatre.
and
Okay, I have another very slightly different context. And moving on from this back to the training, Prof, you've been to Bordeaux in France.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a center of excellence from robotic training. Every so often, we pick up a bunch of favorite robotics trainees to take them to Bordeaux. But Bordeaux also has very good wine, so there is every reason for us to go as trainers as well. So, what they do when you go for robotic training is first day, they ask you to go into the endoscopy suite. It's a bit of very funny arrangement. You are there for robotics. They do about 10 to 12 robotic procedures in 8 to 10 hours. And then the first thing they ask you when you land is, yeah, don't come in here. Just go into the endoscopy suite. And as a trainer and trainee, you need to pair up. 6 trainers, 6 trainees from different parts of the world. And then you take round robin to work with each trainee. So what you are required to do, this very great trainer I am, and I'm so excellent, this, that, and the other. You have this huge aura about you, right? You go in there, the trainee comes and stands behind you and starts whispering into your ears how to perform an OGD, gastroscopy. Start from cricopharyngeus, all the way to second part of duodenum and back. The trainee's hands are tied to their back, so they cannot touch, they cannot show any negative emotion towards you, because that is what they're all stressed about. In the morning, they have to whisper into your ears, so the next trainer cannot hear, who is 2 feet away from you, and teach you how to do that. So they put you in the trainee's position to get an insight into what's going on in trainee's head. And then in the afternoon, it's your turn to instruct all those 6 trainees how to do the procedure. And then they tell you, now that you learned how to teach, let's go and teach.
Yeah, very good trick. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I think it's what you say. It's a lot changing because this kind of tricks and ways of people make people understanding that a process of acquiring skills is far more complex and necessitates use a certain technologies of teaching, of techniques of teaching that speed up the process and make it more effective. And that's a big change in, I think, in mind of next generations of trainers.
Any questions or any points to be from the floor, particularly the gentleman sitting behind Prof. Jack with the spectacles?
Sir, he is anesthetist.
He's an anesthetist. He was making some valid points to his friend. He was in a whisper campaign to his friend throughout the discussion. So I thought I should listen to him.
Side of him, Sari sitting is Sari, the HOD from the Department of Anesthesia.
Yeah, they both had some points to make. Very nice. Hello, sir. They had some very interesting points to make, and they had that smile on their face throughout the thing, you see. Everyone else only smiled when you gave examples, but these people were constantly interacting. So that is our capture audience, sir. That is our capture audience. Don't let that man go.
So I think that...
Sir, what are your thoughts on this?
Sir, to you only. Sir, yesterday what happened during the meeting, I called, we informed anesthesia department that suddenly Professor Jack will ask all the other audience how to put a central line, how to give the training to put central line, how to put the normal IV cannula. So that's why we invited them into the for the today's meeting, sir. To you, sir.
It is not something anybody can do. Central line is an anesthetic specialty.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go on, sir. What are your thoughts on trainings?
This is a very nice interactive program and very nice to hear this program. The examples you and that they have put are very interesting to hear and this is inspiring.
Sir, after hearing you, it is rejuvenating, sir. Even though we are doing our surgeries, it is really very good.
Very nice of you, madam.
Thank you.
Sir, we get sound only from that side. How about the audience on this side?
Your left.
Samir sir, you don't count. Samir sir, you don't count. Don't represent that side. Someone else from that side.
I came outside.
That is cheating, sir. That is not allowed. Okay, that is cheating. You come and sit here on this side.
Sir, in the front, anatomy, madam. Sir, all anatomy, madam, sir. Madam, thank you very much. Madam, to you. Sir, now, madam.
Very interesting, sir. We are able to know many points, how to get into the training, how to train ourselves, and how to deliver in an efficient way, how to plan and all. So very interesting to know all these things. Getting into.
So now what the medical colleges are asking us is to give them a seating plan how I want to organize my training. That is a very funny question. I initially found it very strange. You have a small group teaching for 20 people. Can you give me a seating plan of your training room? Isn't that thought-provoking? Indirectly, they are asking me if I am prepared for the training. If I have prepared myself for the training. Have you read your book before you come and start teaching others? Isn't that interesting?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So there should not be any chair for the trainer. All should be trained.
Very strict, Samir sir. You are very strict. No chairs for the students. Only one chair for Sarojini madam. That's very bad.
Thank you for giving me chair, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, this is a practical problem. Some of the, see, we are giving some training. Recently, we had a training to all the interns regarding the suturing. So, out of 20 people, around 10, 12 people, they are far excellence. 2, 3 people, I personally myself, I started repeatedly, I showed how to do suturing. But still at the end, results are negative. So then
How did you approach that, sir?
That's right. Because I asked whether, so I asked 2, 3 people why you are not interested for the suturing. you are all in the medical professions, even if you take medicine subject also, at any point of time you may require some suturing, some patient will come on the accident, but somewhat they are not comfortable, and then they don't want to do suturing also. So how to teach these people? These are the that is.
Let's ask the experts. There are two experts in the front seat. Both of them have taught people through years. Let's ask expert, Professor Jack.
Yeah,
How are you going to make horse drink water?
Yeah, it's a very difficult problem if you say,
Yes, sir.
if I understand that they were actually not willing to
Yes, sir.
to
Participate.
to participate in it. Yeah.
We go to the driving school for learning the driving, but when we don't practice, we will not be able to do it.
I think that
Absolutely, sir.
there are some things that whatever if something is mandatory in your profession, if you look at a certain things that come from our industries, as aviation, you can say, I don't want to learn suturing in laparoscopic or robotic surgery because I use clips, yeah, or I use only stapling. Yeah, it would be as the pilot will say, I fly only on the computer and automatically because I don't like to use a physical, mechanical landing and starting process. The industry obliges them, if you prefer to work with your stick, okay, you can do 2 starts and landings by automated system, but 1 you have to do mechanically. Our way, goodbye your license. The same is in minimally invasive surgery. If a guy says, I don't want to suture, then you'll not get a laparoscopic surgeon because you need to have a background of being able to tie the knot if there is no stapling gun, if there is no clips or whatever. I mean, then you cannot do this procedure. Then you're fired.
You're in a tight corner, your clips and your staples don't go there. How are you going to bail yourself out?
Okay.
Say short gastrics in a big obese man sitting in the back of spleen. How are you going to get them out?
Absolutely. So there are basics that you have to do by hand, and there is no automation available, or something goes wrong and something like that's a disaster. We see now a generation of colorectal surgeons that are not capable to make coloanal anastomosis by suture. Oh, because they do everything by stapling. It's a disaster. So
we had some similar discussion when I was in Rajahmundry recently. Remember, Samir sir?
Yes.
On 2nd of January, we brought a colorectal surgeon and myself, and we were talking about robotics and all the extremely, posh stuff. And our surgery HOD gets up and says, okay, that's a mistress, and you can indulge with the mistress, but don't forget your wife, open surgery.
Yes, sir. Good, sir.
but I mean, in a robotic colorectal surgery, there is, to my humble opinion, and you're a robotic expert, I see it very simple way. You don't need a robot for dissection because this is done by gas and finding the correct plane. The only big benefit would be that you can forget all this expensive stapling and suture the coloanal anastomosis by robot. And then you get all your consumables for nothing, because you don't spend money on these expensive guns. but sometimes don't
Piece
fire.
of kit, yeah.
And that is actually the future of robotic rectal surgery, that you could again go to the basics and suture in place of spending a lot of money for stapling devices, which sometimes are difficult to handle in pelvis and sometimes are not reliable because of misfiring, of misuse or whatever, and problems that are related to. So there is a future of colorectal surgery by robotic, providing we go back to the basics. You do
So that's
it by
one of
surgery.
the end criteria for signing off people. That's what robotic surgeons all over the world, trainers are increasingly using. That as a sign of point. If you can hand suture coloanal anastomosis or colorectal anastomosis in twice the time it takes for you to fire a stapler, if you can cut down your speed of suturing to twice the time you can use for a stapler, you are ready to be an expert. You have done enough procedures, you've got enough skill to be signed off. And that is a very good endpoint, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. For hospitals that have problems with a budget, it's also a good demonstration that you can actually balance the costs by not using the stapling and get actually a high level of effectiveness and certainly as good results. So we
Absolutely, I agree with you.
From a training, but it comes to the point that whatever you do in procedures or whatever profession is, automation and use of energized instruments or computerized things is fine, but what can be done by hand still has to be learned and taught, because there will be a day that there is no electricity, or there is no stapler, or there is no computer, and you'll have to do the thing by hand. So we cannot kick out all the basic, and if someone doesn't want to learn suturing, he has to search another job.
Don't give them MBBS certificate, Samir sir.
Sir, here,
That is the answer.
Sir, here some of with this today participants, some of the nursing staffs are there. They are in the training curriculum also. They are giving a training. I don't know what is the training curriculum for the nursing staff in the UK. Sir, here, madam is there. Madam, you want...
Let's listen to madam. Madam is being very quiet. If she doesn't speak, we don't know.
Madam, even... madam, please. Madam, what is your feedback regarding your training program?
Madam, namaste. Give us your feedback, madam.
Basically, we are from nursing field, sir. Most of us are MSc nurses. So we are teaching and training nursing students for better future.
No, madam, no. How you are giving a training? That is means training means only theoretical trainings are going on, or practical.
Also. They take care of patients and they need to nurse patients in various capacities and assist doctors in various medical and surgical areas. So we want to train ourselves to the best of the ability, so we are here.
Very nice, madam. Very nice to hear insights. But anatomy, madam, is not speaking much again.
Sir, for them anatomists came, sir. Sir, anatomists came, now no need of dead body. So all first year MBBS, they have to come to the anatomist.
As in when we complete...
Very nice.
We complete one region, sir, we demonstrate the anatomies for the students.
And what's the feedback, madam, from anatomy?
Awesome, they are very awesome. I mean, we put a test and take a viva, sir. So we are getting good feedback after the revision is over from the anatomy.
Very nice.
Cannot Vitamins is useful for each and everybody, sir. It is very good. And especially for the gynecologists, for the ureters and other things we can trace, and we can lose the fear of this urinary bladder and the ureter. Actually, we are from the beginning we are having that fear. That last after exposure to the anatomy thing.
I remember my gynecology professor taking me to theatre one day, telling me when I was training, saying we do 3 operations. We sometimes cut left ureters, we sometimes cut right ureters, we sometimes cut both ureters. So if you boys don't know where the ureters are, this is a very good time to open a book and read.
Sir, here with me, some of the physiotherapy faculties are there, including Dr. Akruti also. She is a organizer and she is a participant also.
Dr. Akruti is hiding. Whenever we look at her, the camera pans to her, she runs away. We have seen that. There is a trend now. She is looking very busy, as if she is doing something. But, you know, she is scared we are going to ask her.
No, sir, nothing like that, sir. Actually, all our faculty are at a national conference in Bangalore, so we are accompanied by our PGs. So we usually use Anatomage and CPR training as of now. We are still lagging a little behind in utilizing the high fidelity and mid fidelity mannequins, because we don't know exactly how to incorporate the mannequins into our curriculum, our physiotherapy curriculum. Because as it is, we don't have anybody in our department who's trained in simulations, because there should be a balance between the educative part and also the technological part. So that balance we are unable to get trained on. And maybe if we can, after this training program, I think we all will be sitting together along with other departments which are already doing things on heart sounds, lung sounds, and even anatomy. So we may try to, after this training program, maybe we will look forward to incorporate these other areas which have been ignored till now. Because physiotherapy, sir, we almost study everything, but we are only using the anatomage table as of now. We are not using mannequins for auscultation, because we use auscultation in our 3rd and 4th years, which we go on to the patients in our 2nd year itself. Our main role is with the patient at a daily basis, sir. Because when we give our treatments, we give treatments for suppose stroke patients or any bedridden patients. We are with the patient for more than 1 month, 2 months, 3 months also. So there comes like the treatment. I think if we can have good this communication, there's a little bit of communication problems also, sir, between the team members of the physiotherapy department and also inter-department communication problems. So if you can suggest some ways for us, sir, to make it better, it will be nice, sir.
Absolutely, it's something to work with. And Samir sir has already seen when he came to Coventry how physios were engaged in team exercise, didn't you?
Yes, sir. There, sir, now also, previously we were having big batches. Now also we are concentrating for the small batches training. Starting from the intern, most probably they also plan like that. Small batch training is always good.
We'll work on that curriculum, Akruti madam.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
It would be nice, and Prof. Jack has some interesting concepts on those.
This sir today started a nice program. What he did, he asked all the 5 people, all the participants, they are in the front. Like they have to close their eyes, and back of these 5, another 5 people, they are the trainer. So sir asked them to do some of the like a hand-eye coordination without seeing it. So we mark some of the trainers, they are telling to move your hand right, to move your left. Some are there, almost communication is good, but it should be more efficient.
Of course, of course.
Sir, anything or we go for the launch?
Should we conclude the program then?
Sir, anything from your side, otherwise we will close again. Anyhow, we will meet on 7th or 6th and on, sir.
So, see you soon.
We are going to meet again in 2 days' time.
Yes, sir.
Prof, I'm looking forward to seeing you again in Bhubaneswar.
In 2 days.
2 days, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to our poor jokes.
Sir, you are in the home or in the hospital? Everybody is asking. Because by seeing the curtains there, they are thinking you are in the home.
Sir, where in hospital will I put a picture touching my wife's feet, sir?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye, sir.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Nice to see you all. We'll see you soon. Bye. Bye.
All the faculty who are pre-registered for the course can proceed for lunch. It is at the Veer Lingham Hall. All the residents and other observers can join us back again at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Madam, మీ దగ్గరే లెఫ్ట్ లేదు డబ్బులు
Yeah, that's it. I understand that you're intending to do some demonstrations today. I don't know what is the basic
పాపది ఫైనల్ ఇయర్ ఎగ్జామ్ మనోరా నీ దగ్గర ఉందా?
That I will tell. As we have to make, madam, examiner.
No.
No. Extra class. No. They are asking me to find the examiner from Bhubaneswar. But because
we have to have such a 4 exams. We are from Telangana state.
That is not possible.
That is the problem. So probably they are asking you when you are going to
3 days.
5 days. 5 days. That is the problem, sir. All my colleagues also not interested to come because it is a 5 days test and 4 days test. We can make it batches of 3, but then our finances for the flight. It's a problem. 5 days and 4. Flight is to madam. 4 members. అదే 4 members total 4 kids. ఇప్పుడైతే 6 అవుతుంది. ఫ్లైట్ చార్జెస్ ఫ్లైట్ దే ఆర్ ప్రొవైడింగ్ ఇస్తాను మేడం
వస్తారు లేదా అడిగితే వస్తారు డేట్ ఫ్లైట్ గూగుల్ చుట్టూ దాని ఫ్లైట్
ఎవరికి సార్ మేడం కాంటాక్ట్ చేశారు జనా సార్కి మందీప్ గారికి కాంటాక్ట్ చేశారు
ఒకళ్ళు ఎవరో వస్తానన్నారంటే బట్ టు షీ కమ్స్ ఫ్రమ్ తెలంగాణ. Problem ఏంటంటే 3 days madam has got 3 of them come from Telangana. But they are getting flight. శిరీషకు నేను చెప్పాను బట్ శిరీష ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ చేయలేదు. అయితే అంటే మేడం ముగ్గురు దొరికారన్నారు కదా అని ఓకే.
డ్యూరింగ్ దట్ దే ప్రామిస్డ్ మేడం మేడం హూ ఆర్ ద పీపుల్ they should be on the examination or during the examination period they should make 50% or 30% free. So at time you have to admit some 10-15 cases.
Start చేసాం ఎందుకంటే ఎగ్జామ్
we have to make a course, we have to pressurize them ki this see somewhat na madam
many problems will come sir because management will pay 100 rupees per day for those people. 100 rupees these days is nothing even.
సార్ అలా కాదు అంటే ఏంటంటే టైంకి వాళ్ళకి బ్రేక్ఫాస్ట్ రావాలి. అది మెయిన్ ప్రాబ్లం. టైంకి బ్రేక్ఫాస్ట్ రాదు. మేమేమో వాళ్ళని కష్టం చేస్తాం ఎగ్జామ్లో కూర్చోమని. టైం నుంచి ప్రాబ్లమ్ సార్ ఫుడ్ దగ్గర.
సేమ్ పేషెంట్ రిపీటెడ్గా ఉంటే దే ఆర్
we keep antenatal not much of a problem sir. Any case likewise we are expecting inspection also that time. So we have to have post-op gynec cases. That is a big problem. Now with so much money, people are not coming. Sir, it is not a problem for 1 month free. Come nahi karega sir. If you have think in the long term, I feel 1 year or something. We have to.
Uyala program is there or no?
Uyala is there. Antenatal most of the time.
Outside they started the government project. Mane normal delivery 9,000.
But we are getting. They are sufficient deliveries, more than 100.
Though we have tried dummies for MCA, it is okay, sir. For exam purpose, we may be getting good number of cases. Gynec,
now Kasi madam is becoming a tense because of then I tell you.
She was talking.
And every day he is telling why these people they made me a professor, a student.
I want this book. No, there is one ultrasonography book was there. Last time you gave laparoscope.
Room లో laparoscopy book అది మేడం ఇచ్చేస్తాను.
And what is that seventh bonus for what is here?
Madam, that is IAS.
All laparoscopic surgeries, no? Not
Gynec only.
Sir, can tomorrow, sir, the first topic is about mannequins, whatever we have in simulation lab, and what things we can do on the mannequin. So everyone just suggested if you can do it in telecom equipment for everybody. Potential
Now my position is now na, one side is superintendent, one side is principal, one side is chairman, and one side is acting. I am in the center. I have to code. See, last 10 days the superintendent sir prepared a slides for the chairman. Sir should tell directly to superintendent sir. Now I am telling sir these slides not.
So we will need to create for you a time. You have by chance idea how much time you need?
My time is 10 to 11 o'clock. Then we will like chairman is coming. Indian decision engineering chairman is coming. He will give a session on how to run the process. Emergency machine is coming. He will take a class and make it. That's 1 hour. And 1 hour we will plan for this.
So you need approximately 2 hours.
3 hours for this. So after that we will go with as per your protocol. We will break the system and they can demonstrate and they will see that they are able to teach. That's the objective.
About 2-3 hours. So I'll see how we can fix it with the rest of the program. Okay.
source detect HDMI connect చేస్తారా VGA select చేస్తాం source అని అదే source చూడు అక్కడ ఏముంది VGA పైన కంప్యూటర్ ఫస్ట్ Okay, good.
What mannequins we have, what we can do on the mannequins, and you will come to this.
We spoke about that he will proceed also with demonstration by showing it as it should be.
Change source తీసుకోవాలి ఇక్కడ ఇవ్వాలి కదా మనం పుట్టి ఇవ్వకుండా
అంటే డిస్ప్లే చూపిస్తుంది
దీని నుంచి ఇవ్వాలి మనం షేర్ చేయాలి స్క్రీన్ రెండు కండి
షేర్ ఓకే అంటే
ఏమంటే ఆగాలి కంగారు కొట్టేసి
Just for an example, so we can do one thing, so 5 minutes to put in some next one for an example. Because now people are sitting here. I will ask them to get in touch with you more lunchtime. In lunchtime you can show them. Tomorrow we don't have so much time. 5 minutes, serve an ingredients. Next 25 minutes we have to talk about all the items that we have. That is half an hour. Then the next 15 minutes you can take that OSCE, everything, Mishra sir, yourself, and
choose something that is as possible as spectacular.
So you three of you can do the on the stage. You can perform the OSCE thing, and then superintendent close it. And everybody doesn't require it. IBM is not even for basics. Everybody will come. So we want the purpose, the beginning goal for us is taking it to this Charaka auditorium. First thing to let everybody know that simulation lab is active. First thing. Second thing is it is having so and so mannequins. So they have to reflect saying that, okay, faculty should reflect that they have to incorporate this in their curriculum. Students should reflect saying that we have something in the lab, so it is our duty also to ask the faculty to go and learn. That is the thing for that 1 hour class. Today times many things happened. We did demo trainers, we did live things. Now we are going to do lab method. So service is going in a very good way. So they will be breaking out steps, simulation training. Tomorrow is
లేకపోతే మై కంప్యూటర్లోకి వెళ్ళాలి హ్యాంగ్ అయిపోయింది మీరేదో కొట్టేది హ్యాంగ్ అయింది ఫంక్షన్ కీ కొట్టారు ఫంక్షన్ కీ హ్యాంగ్ అయిపోయింది
కంట్రోల్ ఆర్ డిలీట్
ఫంక్షన్
ఫంక్షన్ పి అంటే
ఏదో కొట్టారు
ఎఫ్ అంటే రిఫ్రెష్ అవుతుంది
ఫంక్షన్ ఏదో కొట్టారు కదా ఫంక్షన్ పి కొట్టారు ఇంకా దాని తర్వాత
సార్ మేడం
తెలియదమ్మా ఆయన వచ్చారు కదా ఆయనతో పాటు తిరుగుతున్నాను లుక్నంత పాటు అదయ్యా దాంట్లోకి వెళ్తారు కదా డిస్ప్లే దీంట్లోకి మీరు
ఆల్రెడీ ఇందాక ల్యాప్టాప్ ఉంది కదా ల్యాప్టాప్లో డూప్లికేట్
ల్యాప్టాప్ వదిలేండి కంప్యూటర్ మార్చే కదా పీసీలోకి వెళ్ళి డిస్ప్లేలోకి
కంట్రోల్ ప్యాన్లోకి వెళ్ళండి కంట్రోల్ ప్యాన్లోకి వెళ్ళి
మీరు చేయాలి ఏం కాదు మరి అది చేయకుండా ఏదో F5 F9 విండోస్ లేదు కదా విండోస్ పీ కొట్టాలన్నా విండోస్ పీ లేనప్పుడు F9 ఎలా కొడతారు ఫంక్షన్ అదే మనం చేస్తే అప్పుడు ఎక్కడో హ్యాంగ్ అయిపోయిందంటే పోస్ట్ అది దాకా మానిటర్ లాగా ఉంటుంది అల్ట్రాసౌండ్ మానిటర్ సార్ సతీష్ గారు చెప్పండి. హలో సార్ చెప్పండి సార్. సార్ చెప్పండి. చెప్పండి సార్. ఇక్కడికి 8కి వస్తాను. నేను వెళ్ళట్లేదు సార్, ఆకృతి గారు వెళ్తాను. ఆకృతి గారు వెళ్తాను. అది ఐడియా లేదు సార్ నాకు. ఇవాళ చెప్పారంట రేపు నైట్కి వెళ్తారు. రేపు నైట్ కోణానికి వెళ్తారు సతీష్ గారు. రేపు ఎన్నింటికి వెళ్తున్నారు? ఎవరు వెళ్తున్నారు?
ఎవరు వెళ్తలేదు. లేదు మొత్తం ఎల్లుండి. మనీ కొద్దిగా ఆన్ చేసాను. రోబోటిక్ ఆన్ చేసాను.
మీరు ఒకసారి సతీష్ గారితో మాట్లాడతారా?
సతీష్ గారు ఎందుకు ఫోన్ చేస్తారు?
సార్ ఒకసారి సమీర్ గారు మాట్లాడారు.
6 రేపు వెళ్తుందా? ఎల్లుండి థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. ఫోటో 2 ఫోటో అది మంచి ఫోటో కాదు, ఇంకా మంచి ఫోటో ఎక్కడ ఉన్నాయి? నేను సారీ జస్టింగ్ ఎవ్రీ ఇయర్ వన్
కోర్టు ఆర్డర్ ఉండగా మనం ఎలా చేస్తున్నాం కదా. ఏం నిర్ధారాలు అది మనమే ఇండైరెక్ట్ గా ఎఫెక్ట్ వస్తుంది. కరెక్ట్ కాదండి. నేను చెప్పి మీటింగ్ చెప్పాను నేను. Subject to court authorization. మన ఇండివిజువల్ కాలేజీ కేసు తీసుకున్నాం. లేదు మరి నా మీటింగ్ మళ్ళీ ఈవినింగ్ 5. Morning 9 o'clock.
ఇక్కడైతే ఖచ్చితంగా దీని వెనక కెమెరా వెనక
విజయం ఉంది కదా సార్
వెయిట్ ఎక్కువ అనిపిస్తుంది నీడిల్ హోల్డర్ దీని మీద వేరే ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ మీద మనం ఒక సైడ్ నిల్చుంటాం కదా ఆ ప్రాక్టీస్ వేరే రియల్ లైఫ్ లో వచ్చి ఇలా నిలబడి పక్కన నుంచి నిలబడి
అవును ఇంత ఫ్రీగా ఉండదు ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ ఇంత లైట్ ఉండదు వేసుకోండి తీసేసుకోండి ఇది కూడా వేసుకోండి కానీ అట్లీస్ట్ ఇలా చేస్తే నాటింగ్ ఫాస్ట్ నాటింగ్ ఈజీ అవుతుంది బయట తీసుకోవడం ఎలాగో నాకు అంటారు
ఈ దగ్గర ఈజీగానే ఉంటుంది.
3 అండి 3 ఈ రిపోర్ట్ ఉందండి లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్.
మీ రైట్ హ్యాండ్తో థ్రెడ్ ఐ దగ్గర
కింద సిపిలోనే నువ్వండి ఇది
అవునండి. అదే జస్ట్ రేపు లాగిన్ అవుతున్నారండి సేహర్ గారు. ఏమి సార్ మన లాగిన్ సార్ సేహర్ గారు
సార్ సార్ చెప్పండి. డెస్క్టాప్కి వచ్చాను. F11 కొట్టి టెస్ట్ కొట్టి డెస్క్టాప్కి వచ్చాను మినిమైజ్ చేసి.
రైట్ కొట్టున్నాం సార్. రైట్ కొట్టాను. అన్నీ ఐడియా వచ్చిందండి. వీడియో వచ్చిందండి వచ్చింది మల్టిపుల్ అది సింగిల్లో ఉందండి 1లో ఉంది. మల్టిపుల్ పెట్టుకోవాలండి.
స్కిల్స్ బెటర్గా వెళ్తాను ఛాన్సెస్ ఉంటాయి. ఫైనల్ రోజు లైఫ్ ఉన్నది ఎత్తుకుంటారు చాలా పడుతుంది. 4 డిగ్రీకి అయితే చాలా ఎక్కువ. ఎన్నోళ్ళు ఎవరు స్ట్రగుల్ అయితే అవ్వాలి బయటకు వెళ్ళి ఫీల్ ఏదో కంపల్సరీ రోజులో ఏదో ఒకటి మినిమం 2, 3, 4 అవుతానే మనం మధ్య ఏసీ హ్యాండిల్ చేస్తాం స్టేట్ అప్పుడు వచ్చేది.
అవుతుంది సార్.
ఒక లైన్ అంతా
నాన్ టూత్ తీసుకోండి సార్.
లాస్ట్ 3 months లోనే ఛాన్సెస్ అంత గ్రౌండ్ స్టార్టెడ్ విత్ క్లీనింగ్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ డయాగ్నోస్టిక్ ల్యాబ్ అవన్నీ బాగానే
ఎస్ట్రోస్కోపీ చేయాలనుకున్నాను. అదేమో ఎస్ట్రోస్కోపీ చేసాను. నేను పేపర్ ఇచ్చాను మనకి వచ్చి వాటిలో ఇచ్చారు.
ఎస్ట్రోస్కోపీ చేయాలి.
5,000 అంటే కావట్లేదు.
ఇప్పుడు ఎలాగో 2,000 కదా, ఇంకో 3,000కి ఇంకా డిఎన్సీ ఏంటి మేడం? హిస్ట్రోస్కోపిక్ డిఎన్సీకి
ఇంకా మళ్ళీ వేరే ఛార్జ్ ఉండదు. మీరు హిస్ట్రోస్కోపీ రాయండి.
హిస్ట్రోస్కోపిక్ డిఎన్సీ 5,000 ఇవ్వాలి.
హిస్ట్రోస్కోపీ అంతే, డయాగ్నోస్టిక్ హిస్ట్రోస్కోపీ మీరు చేస్తారు.
కాదు, డయాగ్నోస్టిక్ హిస్ట్రోస్కోపీ ఛార్జెస్ తగ్గించారా?
8,000 కదా.
8,000
హిస్ట్రోస్కోపీ 8
వస్తాయి.
నేను 5 ఏమో, మళ్ళీ దీనికి 2,000 ఎక్స్ట్రా మెడిసిన్స్కి వాటికి ఎంత 10 అని వెనక్కి పడిపోతున్నాను. ఒక్కటైనా చేయాలి. ఏంటంటే మనం
కొనుక్కొని కూడా ఎలా చేస్తారు? ఫాలో చేయాలి. కొనుక్కున్న మీరు ఎలా చేయాలో సెటప్లో కూడా అదే
మన సెటప్లో ఇంకా కేసు
ఎందుకంటే అదే ఇంట్లోకి రావు హాస్పిటల్లో 15,000 మేడం. ఓన్లీ హిస్ట్రోస్కోపీ 15,000 ప్లస్ మెడిసిన్ ఎక్స్ట్రా. అప్పుడు 2013 ఇంకా పెరుగుతుంది. బట్ ఆ క్వాలిటీ ఆఫ్ కేర్ వేరే ఉంటుంది. 1 డేలో మార్నింగ్ అడ్మిట్ అవగానే ఈవినింగ్ వీడియో చూసుకుని వీడియో తీసుకుని ట్రీట్మెంట్ తీసుకుని మార్నింగ్ 6 o'clock వచ్చి ఈవినింగ్ 4 to 5
డే కేర్ కదా. లాప్రోస్కోపీ డే కేర్.
ఇప్పుడు ల్యాబ్ డే కేర్. ల్యాబ్ కూడా అంతే. ల్యాబ్ కాకపోతే ఓవర్ నైట్ ఉంచుతాం డయాగ్నోస్టిక్ ల్యాబ్.
నెక్స్ట్ డే.
ఇప్పుడు రాజేష్ కుమార్ అయితే మండే టీఎల్
ఇప్పుడు నుంచి కదా, ఒక 10 years నుంచి ఇది పట్టట్లేదు. సీనియర్ ట్రై చేస్తాను.
ఎందుకు చంద్రిక స్పైనల్ సర్జరీ చేసి మా అత్తగారిని 4th డే వెళ్ళిపోండి అన్నారు.
అవునవును చెప్పారు.
4th అన్ని 2nd, 3rd పంపించేస్తారు.
డ్రైన్స్ తీసే వరకు ఉంచారు అంతే. డ్రైన్ తీయగానే వెళ్ళిపోండి అన్నారు.
అది స్లిప్ అయిపోతుంది. నీడిల్
ఇది నాలుగు
వెళ్ళండి. లెఫ్ట్ హ్యాండ్
అదే లెఫ్ట్ హ్యాండ్
not logic one. Sir, na when you see you are holding like this, na you just try to move now. You see now what will happen. You just see this. What is happening in the knot?
ఇంకోటి కావాలి.
Pulling the knot. Correct. But suppose same thing I will do it in here. And so the clock. See what happened to see. There is a lot of modification techniques are there. Means I show in the mental. When we are making the loop, now we are making this one is more spring. so that the thread will not slip. Suppose I will keep it now, it will slip. There are, and this suppose I will do with this one, sometimes we have to keep like this, or keep somewhat above so that the thread will not slip. That mental is there. See, just I will keep it here. You see, madam, na, very easy, just suppose you see now, suppose I am doing now you see now, I am doing around now, you see now. Because I know I have not to, sir, you try, you'll see what is the difference in the two techniques. First do instrument, then start playing. Now you hold the thread. This is called the depth perception. This depth perception in the laparoscopy count. You are thinking, so but when you are doing that, from here you are thinking, very easy, correct na? That feeling will be there. But when you come. That will take time. I suppose you stand running on the computer for 15 to 20 minutes. But now we are habituated, we just like normal good. No, correct, you are correct. You are doing correct. Good. It will come. When you do this maneuver, automatically that knot will be loose. This another thing, this hand, this feet should be in front of the tail, so that because at the end again I have to have the tail. But now here you have to make it correct.
అమ్మాయి నాలెడ్జ్ దిగాక తీసేస్తాం నాలెడ్జ్ కోసం
You are stopping here.
ఇంకొక కేసు అవును సార్ నిన్న 12కి వచ్చింది సివియర్ బ్లీడింగ్ అమ్మాయిని
లైవ్ వెళ్తుంది
You are holding you are holding like that you are holding. Now very difficult. Just
ఫార్మేషన్ కి మొబిలైజేషన్
అయినా వెయిట్ చేసి మేడం డిసిషన్ తీసుకోవడానికి కూడా లేదు మేడం